General Hospital. Spoilers, Drew's horrifying discovery. Scout unknowingly carries enemy's surveillance device. The latest General Hospital episode delivers a heart-wrenching moment that leaves fans on the edge of their seats as Drew Kane faces one of his most devastating realizations yet. What should have been a touching father-daughter reunion in his hospital room transforms into a nightmare when he discovers that his beloved daughter Scout has unknowingly become a pawn in a dangerous surveillance operation. A father's joy turns to horror. When Scout enters Drew's hospital room for her visit, her father's face initially lights up with the pure joy that only a parent separated from their child can experience. The little girl approaches his bedside with innocent excitement, eager to spend time with her father during his recovery. But Drew's happiness quickly dissolves into shock as his eyes fall upon something he's never seen before, a delicate necklace adorning his daughter's neck. The piece of jewelry catches the light, drawing Drew's attention with an almost hypnotic quality. To anyone else, it might appear to be a simple accessory, perhaps a gift from a friend or relative. But Drew's instincts immediately tell him something is terribly wrong. His military training and experience with covert operations kick in as he studies the necklace more carefully. His heart sinking with each passing second, the devastating realization. As Drew examines the necklace from his hospital bed, the horrifying truth crystallizes in his mind. This isn't just an innocent piece of jewelry, it's a sophisticated surveillance device. The necklace contains a miniature listening device and GPS tracker, so advanced and compact that it would be virtually undetectable to the untrained eye. Drew's blood runs cold as he realizes the implications. Someone has deliberately placed this device on his daughter, using her as an unwitting spy to monitor everything that happens in his hospital room. The mastermind behind this sinister plot becomes clear to Drew. This has Willow's mysterious puppeteer's fingerprints all over it. The same shadowy figure who has been manipulating Willow and orchestrating events from behind the scenes has now crossed the ultimate line by involving an innocent child. They've transformed Scout into an unknowing agent, exploiting her love for her father and her natural innocence to gain access to Drew's most private moments and conversations. A silent plea across the room. Drew's mind races as he processes this discovery. Every word he's spoken since Scout entered the room has been heard. Every plan he's discussed with visitors has been compromised. The enemy has been listening to his every conversation, tracking his every move through the device hanging around his daughter's neck. The violation feels deeply personal, an attack not just on him, but on the sanctity of the father-daughter bond he holds sacred. But Drew faces an immediate dilemma. How can he warn Scout about the device without alerting whoever is listening on the other end? Speaking directly about the necklace would tip off the surveillance operator and potentially put Scout in even greater danger. Drew needs to communicate with his daughter silently to make her understand without words what she's carrying. Summoning all his composure, Drew begins trying to signal Scout with his eyes. He looks pointedly at the necklace, then back to her face, widening his eyes meaningfully. He tilts his head slightly, trying to indicate that she should remove the jewelry. His gaze moves from the necklace to her hands and back again, attempting to mime the action of taking it off. Each gesture is calculated to be obvious enough for Scout to understand, but subtle enough not to arouse suspicion from anyone monitoring the audio feed. The innocence of childhood. But Scout, in her childlike innocence, completely misses her father's desperate silent signals. She chatters happily about her day, oblivious to the intensity in Drew's eyes and the tension radiating from his hospital bed. When he looks at her necklace, she simply smiles, perhaps thinking he likes it or is admiring the gift. When he gestures subtly with his eyes and head, she interprets it as fatigue or discomfort from his injuries. The little girl has no framework for understanding that the pretty necklace she's wearing could be anything sinister. In her world, necklaces are simply decorative items that make her feel special and grown-up. The concept of surveillance devices, listening bugs, and GPS trackers exists far beyond the boundaries of her innocent reality. She cannot comprehend why her father would want her to remove a piece of jewelry she's clearly proud to wear. Drew watches his daughter's oblivious responses with a growing sense of helplessness. The gap between what he knows and what she can understand feels impossibly wide. His inability to communicate the danger to her through silent signals alone becomes more painful with each passing moment. He's trapped in his hospital bed, weakened by his condition, unable to physically remove the device himself or even lean close enough to whisper in her ear without being heard by the listening device. A father's tears. As the visit continues and Scout remains unaware of the danger she carries, Drew feels tears beginning to well up in his eyes. These aren't tears of physical pain from his injuries, they're tears of pure frustration and helplessness. As a father, his most fundamental instinct is to protect his children from harm, yet here he sits, unable to shield Scout from being used as a tool against him. The emotional weight of the situation crushes down on Drew. Every resistance plan he's carefully crafted, every strategy he's discussed with allies, every moment of defiance he's plotted, all of it has been monitored through the device his innocent daughter wears. The enemy has been steps ahead of him, not through superior intelligence or tactical brilliance, but by exploiting the trust and love between a father and his child. Drew realizes that his daughter's visits, which should have been sources of comfort and joy during his difficult recovery, have actually been serving the enemy's purposes. They've turned these precious moments of connection into intelligence-gathering operations. The violation feels almost unbearable. His daughter, the little girl he would give his life to protect, has been transformed into an unwitting spy against her own father. The desperate warning. Drew knows he has only moments left before Scout's visit ends. If he doesn't act now, she'll leave, still wearing the device, and the surveillance will continue. Every fiber of his being screams at him to protect his daughter from being used this way any longer. He needs to warn her to make her understand the danger, even if it means alerting the enemy that their surveillance has been discovered. Gathering every ounce of strength his injured body can muster, Drew fixes his eyes on Scout with an intensity that finally captures her attention. His voice, weakened by his condition but filled with urgency, manages to form the words that have been building in his throat. Stay away from Willow. The 5 words hang in the air between them, loaded with meaning that transcends their simple construction. Drew has chosen his warning carefully, specific enough to guide Scout, but vague enough not to reveal too much to the listeners. He knows that whoever is monitoring the device will hear this warning, but he no longer cares. Protecting his daughter from further manipulation has become more important than maintaining operational security. Understanding dawns. Scout's demeanor shifts immediately upon hearing her father's words. The serious tone in Drew's voice, so different from his usual warm interactions with her, penetrates through her childlike perceptions. She sees the tears in his eyes, the tension in his face, the desperate way he's looking at her. Though she may not understand all the complexities of the adult conflicts swirling around her, Scout is intelligent enough to recognize that something is very wrong. The little girl's mind begins working through what she knows. Her father has never spoken to her this way before. He's never told her to stay away from anyone with such intensity and emotion. Why would he specifically warn her about Willow? What has Willow done to prompt such a reaction? Scout starts connecting dots in her young mind, drawing on observations and overheard conversations she may not have fully processed before. Suspicion begins to take root in Scout's thoughts. The pretty necklace suddenly feels heavier around her neck. She looks down at it with new eyes, no longer seeing just a decorative accessory. Though she still doesn't understand exactly what it is or what it does, Scout begins to sense that this gift is connected to her father's warning. Her innocent worldview starts developing cracks as she realizes that people she thought she could trust might not have her family's best interests at heart. The seeds of doubt. As Scout processes her father's words, she begins mentally reviewing recent interactions with Willow. Things that seemed normal before now take on new significance. Was Willow the one who gave her this necklace? Had Willow encouraged her to wear it during visits with her father Scout's young mind? Previously incapable of attributing malicious intent to adult actions, now starts questioning motivations and recognizing patterns she missed before. The realization that someone might be using her against her father cuts deeply. Even at her young age, Scout understands betrayal when she sees it. The idea that Willow, someone who has been part of their family circle, might be involved in something that would make her father cry and beg her to stay away, feels like a profound violation of trust. Drew watches as understanding slowly dawns on his daughter's face. He can see her innocence being challenged by harsh reality, and while it breaks his heart to see her losing some of that childlike trust in the world, he knows it's necessary for her protection. Scout needs to understand that not everyone around her can be trusted, that sometimes people who smile and act friendly have hidden agendas. A family under siege. This moment in Drew's hospital room represents a turning point in the ongoing saga. What was already a complicated situation involving manipulation secrets and power plays has now escalated to include the exploitation of an innocent child. By placing a surveillance device on Scout, the mysterious force behind Willow has demonstrated just how far they're willing to go to maintain control and gather intelligence. For Drew, the discovery transforms his understanding of the threat he faces. This isn't just about business conflicts, romantic entanglements, or personal vendettas anymore. His enemies have shown they're willing to weaponize his own children against him, to invade the most sacred relationship in his life for their own purposes. The gloves are now off, and Drew knows that the battle ahead will be fought with a new level of intensity and desperation. Scout's growing suspicion of Willow marks the beginning of what could be a significant alliance shift. If Scout starts actively avoiding Willow or asking questions about her, it could disrupt the carefully constructed surveillance network. More importantly, Scout's newfound awareness means she can no longer be used as an unwitting pawn. She's been awakened to the reality of the situation, and that awakening will have consequences that ripple through the entire storyline. The path forward. As Scout prepares to leave her father's hospital room, both father and daughter carry the weight of this encounter with them. Drew must now reassess every aspect of his situation, knowing that his enemy has been listening to his plans all along. He needs to figure out how to communicate with his allies without being overheard, how to formulate strategies that haven't already been compromised by the surveillance of his previous conversations. Scout, meanwhile, faces her own journey of discovery. She must navigate her relationships with new awareness, questioning things she previously accepted at face value. The necklace around her neck has become a symbol of betrayal, and she'll need to figure out how to handle it without putting herself or her father in further danger. The revelation that Scout has been unknowingly carrying a surveillance device represents one of the most emotionally charged moments in recent General Hospital history. It combines the soap opera elements of betrayal and manipulation with the genuine horror of a child being used as a spy against her own parent. As the story unfolds, viewers will watch to see how Drew fights back against an enemy willing to exploit his children, and how Scout's growing awareness of the dangers around her transforms her from an innocent child into someone who must learn to navigate a world far more complex and dangerous than she ever imagined.